The topic which we are now going to discuss is divorce. Marriage is regarded as the most important institution of society. Without marriage, a person is not regarded as complete. In fact, most of the needs of an individual, whether biological, whether it's social, are fulfilled by marriage. Marriage can be a very beautiful relationship if the husband and the wife have mental compatibility and physical compatibility and can go together along for life with happiness. But there are situations and there are times when some people's marriage do not work. So it leads to the breaking of marriage and takes the two individuals to the court for divorce. So now we will discuss that what divorce is and what place it has in the Hindu marriage or culture. The Hindu Shastras does not recognize the institution of divorce. The Hindu Shastras regarded marriage as a bond which is indissoluble for life. Wife was regarded as a person who has to worship her husband as God after marriage. The Hindu law didn't had anything in it as divorce. The right of divorce was only available to the so-called lower caste. But with the enactment of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, uh, it was realized that some rights should be given to the women through which they can bring about an end to their marriage. So the need of the women towards divorce was realized, and it was uh, made a provision under the act under section 13 that any marriage which is solemnized before or after the commencement of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 can be dissolved on certain grounds. Now, what are those grounds which can lead to the dissolution of marriage or divorce? The grounds have again been given under section 13 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. The first ground is adultery. Adultery means when either of the spouse establishes sexual relationship with some other person outside marriage or engages into an intercourse outside marriage, then that can serve as a ground for the other spouse to file for divorce in the court. But that adultery or that act of adultery has to be proved by the other party or the other spouse with substantial proofs. It has to be established with substantial proofs. Then only it can serve as a ground for divorce. The other ground is cruelty. Any physical or mental violence which is inflicted on either of the spouse can be claimed in the court as a ground for divorce. Then the third ground is desertion. If either of the spouse voluntarily deserts or leaves the other spouse for at least a period of 2 years, then the other spouse can file a divorce petition in the court. The other reason is ground is conversion. If a person after marriage converts, if either of the spouse after marriage converts to some other religion, then the other party or the spouse has the right to file for divorce. The next ground is the incurable form of mental disorder or insanity, which is found in either of the spouse after marriage, which makes it eligible, uh, uh, which marks it as an eligibility for the spouse to file for divorce. Then the incurable form of leprosy, which can also be communicable can also be regarded as a ground for divorce. Then any venereal disease, if either of the spouse is having, which is incurable and which is communicable, for example, AIDS. So if either of the spouse is suffering from AIDS or any other such disease, the other spouse finds it as a reason for filing for divorce. Then if the other reason is renunciation, if either spouse renounces the worldly possessions and goes from the institution of marriage to renounce the world, then that can also serve as a reason for divorce. And the last but not the least, if a person is not heard alive for at least a period of 7 years by the people to whom it is expected that they should have naturally heard of or seen such a person, then it also becomes a ground for divorce for the other spouse if she or he wishes to remarry. So these are the various grounds which on which either of the spouse can file a petition for divorce in the court, and if he or she is able to prove them or establish them, she can get a divorce from the other spouse. Now, there are two types of divorces which are being practiced in our country. The first one is known as the mutual consent divorce, in which both the parties, if agree to seek divorce from each other, they get a time off, or we can say they get 6 months time to think over their decision. And if after the 6 months they agree to take divorce, they can seek it from the court. Then the other form is the contested form of divorce, in which efforts are made by the court for settlement or negotiations between the spouse through the help of counselors who have been appointed in the courts, or negotiators. But if the parties do not come to terms, then they get the divorce. So this is the we can say the picture of divorce in India.